Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us as we start things off with our good friends from CEC. And at 1 o'clock, Miss Jackie Neal. In our loud, silent voices. Hopefully she'll get to join us in the studio. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and I trust that your weekend has been one that was positive and productive as we're looking forward to another engaging and excellent week. And in the studio from Cayman Enterprise City, Miss Caitlin Elphinstone. Always a pleasure. Good afternoon to you, Miss Caitlin.
Hi, thanks for having us on.
Always a pleasure. I think, when we look at where we're positioning our economy and the responsiveness and uptake, future looks bright despite all that is unfolding. So excited to talk today.
Yeah, there's so much happening. There's so many opportunities. And we're really excited to produce this series of FinTalks events for the financial service industries. So as you know, Cayman Enterprise City has 3 special economic zones, and one of them is focused on commodities and derivatives trading. So it was important for us to get that community together. So we have some folks here today who are going to talk about what they do, get some inside scoops on all the things that are happening. But kind of the idea behind these FinTalks events that happen once a month is to really build that community and that network in the Cayman Islands.
And you wouldn't think of it, you probably look at Wall Street and other things, whether in the movie or just even in the news, and to see it. But from that perspective, maybe through you, Ms. Caitlin, Adam, maybe just turn to you first, a brief intro of you, and then Rodrigo, you follow suit.
Sure, yeah, that sounds great. So this is Adam. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Resolve Asset Management, SECC. We operate out of the CEC, and for as long as we've been participating, it's been really neat to see how the CEC supports these kind of educational events, and we've been really pleased to be able to lean in and organize. I think this is our 5th or 6th event of this nature, and happy to be a little bit more involved in this one. Rodrigo is actually going to deliver a presentation on what we think is a pretty timely theme, and we think it's going to be broadly applicable to a wide variety of interested parties.
Rodrigo, no pressure on you, man.
Sure, I think Adam said most of it, but my title is President and Portfolio Manager of Resolve Asset Management, SEZC. And indeed, I think one of the things that attracts us to hosting these types of events is that we have been, from the beginning, very much focused on educating the end investor. So we produce a ton of content at different levels of complexity, so from 35-page white papers to 5-page reports and 2-minute video snippets, all in the name of really we're truly passionate about talking about ways investors can do better with their portfolios, how they talk to their advisors, and so on. So we're a very research-oriented firm, and So it fits well with the FinTalks.
And certainly would invite you to share maybe as much as you will about the presentation. But as we look at it, there are times when, like anything, you should be an informed consumer. Even going to a physician, not just to talk about that thing that brought you to the physician, but as you tell her, maybe understand the language. Now, some of us would go back and back in the day, it was an encyclopedia of sorts that we would use. Now we type something into a search engine. But if we don't know what we're looking at, if we don't know what we're getting back, we may read it and the words might make sense, but to understand the authority, trust but verify, we're told. How do we get to that space?
Yeah. I mean, I think pointing at Rodrigo. Yeah. I think it's especially important in financial services because there's so many cross currents of information and so many potential malincentives within the industry that make it enormously profitable sometimes for people to distribute products that may not be in the best interests of the end investor. And so it behooves individuals to do their own research and cautiously engage with advisors, especially when there seems to be a good faith effort to invest and provide context on both the opportunity and the risks embedded in any investment that you might be considering, because there is no investment that you might consider in the markets or in any other context that doesn't carry some meaningful amount of risk. So you want to make sure to explore both dimensions.
Right. Risk versus reward in many instances. But is this more a case than doing simple cost-benefit analysis? Your investment advisor would then help you to appreciate, this is the sort of portfolio and diversification that you should be looking for. But for that investor who may have inherited or may have sold a particular asset and is saying the bank is giving me X%, fairly safe, may not be hedged properly against inflation, or I can go in the market and try this and I may get 5%, 15%, maybe even greater with greater risk. Where do you strike that balance between that informed and trusted advisor relative to that new investor?
I think like anything, the world has changed quite a bit in terms of the information that we can find online and the amount of literature out there that you can lean on in order to inform yourself as you're having a discussion with your financial advisor. I think financial advisors play a crucial role as gatekeeper as to what makes sense and what doesn't. But you can now have collaborative relationships with those professionals to build something that is ideal for you. I think we talk about, and we're algorithmically driven investment advisory firm, but there's a math solution to many things, but there may not be an emotional solution to the way human beings react. And I think the financial advisor does a crucial job of understanding who you are as a person and identifying what investment approaches may fit your personality, given that we're not robots.
Someone's got accused of being that all the time, but I'll come back to Adam's point about the malincentives, because that sometimes could be the emotive side that would drive certain people to suggest certain products. Well, the salesman is trying to get a better commission, whatever that is. But the math and the algorithms that you utilize based on, this has been the return over this period of time. But the emotional side says, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Striking that balance, the advisor has to be psychologist as well as economist.
Exactly. Yeah, and listen, the language we used in this particular paper was geared towards advisors and investors so that they could understand. We're trying to explain what could be a complex topic in more layman's terms in order to help identify the value of taking this approach without being fearful of what you're actually doing in the background, right? So language is important for sure.
But if we were then to, I would imagine, and you guide me, we'd probably put data in for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Get a series so that we can do what the trends and see where it would be. But last year seemed to be unpredictable in terms of how the markets responded. Does that be an outlier and throw things out of whack? How do we incorporate that data into future projections?
I think the financial markets are especially tricky because the experience that you have in the recent past is almost counter-informative to what you expect going forward, right? If you have an extremely strong period of returns over the past 5 or 10 years, typically that means that the markets that you're going to invest in today have gotten more expensive, not less expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're a little bit more expensive markets indicate lower returns going forward. So it can be really counterintuitive, which is another reason why you kind of don't want to just rely on your instincts or on your gut, and instead you want to find a trusted advisor to help guide you through that process.
But if they're counterintuitive, if we're looking at it and the algorithm is going to see it and not be able to account for that almost emotive aspect.
Actually, that's a really good segue to the theme of this FinTalks presentation, because really we're trying to solve, and by the way, the title of this is called Stacking Returns, How to Overcome a Low Return Environment. And we're really trying to solve three different problems. One is that, as you've said earlier, markets have really put on a pretty tremendous show over the last 10 or 15 years. And as a result, they've actually gotten very expensive relative to their historical averages. And so that implies a low return period going forward. The second is that most traditional portfolios are unprepared for environments that we may be coming into, which may be characterized by, for example, higher levels of inflation, lower levels of growth than what we've seen over the very long term. And lastly, to the emotional side of this equation, investors don't deal very well with situations where markets are rising, and due to their efforts to diversify, they're a little bit on the sidelines and they're not fully participating in that rise. So the question is, how can you build a solution that overcomes this low return environment that makes you robust to what might be hostile economic environments going forward, and that allows you to feel good about your portfolio even when stocks are rising?
When we come back from the break, maybe share a bit more if you want, and that whole sort of emotional approach, because in the end, it's the people's decisions sometimes that may inform. All right, I'm going to pause. Ms. Gitlin, when we come back, you can share with us. And I always learn, I'm not going to be taking a test, I don't think, am I? I just might. All right, join us after the break. Please stay tuned.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1? And a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us. And thanks too for the opportunity to maybe talk a little bit about, financial investments, to learn something, and to realize that in this environment, we have great resources just right at our fingertips, right on these shores. From Cayman Enterprise City, we have Ms. Caitlin Elphinstone. You bring along some of the best guests, man. Thank you.
Yeah, there's always interesting people. There's so many different projects that are happening in the special economic zone. So it's so important for us to host these events and do things like this so that people from the general public and everyone can kind of come and be involved.
All right, well, Adam Butler and his colleague Rodrigo Gordillo from Resolve Asset Management. I really appreciate you sharing with us. I think too many times we get in a space where something's being said and maybe there's particular jargon being used that either we are okay with it and or we just tune out. But you speak in language that may be peculiar to the industry, but it's in a way that allows us to appreciate that we need to think about tomorrow and tomorrow, times 4 decades in terms of our approach for retirement or children's education. Or maybe that sailing yacht that I want to buy. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? It's coming. Nah, just kidding. But even to that, many times people may have heard, it may have been an ad, but have a goal in mind, that down payment for your house, that retirement, the college education. Are those laudable reasons to have, or do you need to have a reason, or you just need to know that money under your mattress is only good if you're going to spend it then?
No, of course. I mean, this all depends upon every individual investor understanding the value of saving in the future. I think in the last 10 years, you've seen a subset of the population that does invest and has been benefiting from this massive bull run, and a ton of the population that's looking at it and saying, it's too late for me to put my money to work, and I don't want to do anything with it. And they may think that leaving it in cash is a safe place to be. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, I was born and raised in Peru, and I saw that in my, in 1989, we emigrated from Peru to Canada, and the reason we did that was because my dad had all of his money safely tucked away in the safest bank in Peru, in Peruvian soles, the Peruvian currency, right before inflation went from 20% to 7,200%. And then we went to zero in terms of purchasing power. We saw very acutely what safe cash looks like. Right? And Americans and most global investors had their currency be cut in half in the 70s when inflation went through the roof. So I think that, yes, indeed you need to save, but you need to come up with a framework that'll allow you to feel comfort in multiple regimes, whether it's periods of accelerated growth like we saw in the last 10 years for in the U.S. economy especially, not necessarily for the rest of the world. Periods of accelerated inflation or decelerating inflation. You need to know that there are different ways and to invest, different asset classes to put your money into that will thrive in those environments. And how you put them together is key. Now, sadly, we have a behavioral problem to deal with, as I mentioned before. And that behavioral problem is that nobody wants to allocate to anything but U.S. equities and U.S. bonds. Even global investors that are very, very much focused on the domestic economy have way overweighted those two asset classes. So my job as an educator is, how do I help advisors and their clients do what they need to do without necessarily realizing that they're doing it? So in this case, it's about how do I give you the return of that 60-40 U.S. Portfolio while also forcing some diversification, adding a little bit of medicine to that sugar, right? Where we're not trying to fight them and trying to convince people to diversify, because anything diversifying outside of the U.S. would have done much, much worse in the U.S. How do I give you both? How do I let you have your cake and eat it too? And how do I put a piece together that will speak to that end? And that's what this piece is about.
But as a listener, many would be, you hear terms like emerging markets, and even that in itself, at least in my mind, has a negative connotation. Up and coming neighborhood, it's in transition. All these things, and we become. Is that the challenge then? That maybe.
I think the challenge is that diversification isn't investing in emerging markets. This is what we've been led to believe over the years, that diversification is you have Apple, now add Microsoft, now add an emerging market economy stock. Diversification is, if you have a 100% equity portfolio, no matter where you are, Timbuktu or Cayman or US, it is highly susceptible to a negative growth shock like we saw during the COVID crisis.
I like the negative growth shock. I think that.
And so the susceptibility ends when you start adding asset classes like bonds, like government bonds or commodities. And we're in the commodity center, so we're very much in tune with what type of safety a portfolio that includes gold, energies, soft commodities, hard commodities can do in an environment that I grew up in, where inflation goes up to 7,000%. What is inflation? Inflation is the price of commodities going up. If you're able to invest in those things, you're able to mitigate some of that loss that you might have in your portfolio. Had my dad had a block of gold under his mattress, we would have been in a much different position. Right. So that's what we mean by diversification. We mean going beyond equities and going into things that zig when everything else zags.
Right. So other than, for those who maybe it's like equities, bonds and the like, you're trying to get, but for bonds, some would say, as you referenced earlier, the U.S. market, the equities, their bonds, but a Brazilian bond, a Peruvian bond versus a German bond, a Canadian bond, they're not all bonds are created equal.
100% correct. I think those bonds end up being more like equities. Doesn't mean that you can't diversify into them and manage them thoughtfully, but there are other bonds like UK gilts and German bonds and Canadian bonds and US sovereign government bonds that tend to go up when everything else is going down.
But then when we look at, say, the U.S. economy, for instance, and recognizing there's a fiat currency, and to see how the money is just being printed, really and truly, the economy is almost a sham. Well, did I say that loudly? I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to take that seriously, especially now that the Treasury in the U.S. has opened up the coffers and have been fire hosing money, not just into the financial markets, but also into the real economy over the last 18 months. And we've seen a massive uptick in a wide variety of inflation indicators, right? Not just home prices and rents, but also input prices, wholesale prices, retail prices, and increasingly labor prices. And the signal that typically tips investor sentiment into inflation fears is a shock to wages. And that's exactly what we're seeing, especially at the lower end of the wage spectrum at the moment. And I think what many investors don't have experience with is the fact that when inflation rates move above about 4% on an annual basis and sort of are sustained there for a few quarters, investors tend to reprice equities so that they tend to place a lower premium on equities. So equity prices typically go down or don't do nearly as well. And they tend to reposition into assets that do well in inflationary environments, primarily, for example, inflation-protected securities and increasingly commodities. As Rodrigo mentioned, Right.
But then hearing that and not even probably so much listening to the financial aspect of the evening news, as it were, and even the talking heads there, just reading something, unless you go into the script and in-depth discussion. So that tendency to see inflation going up, the cost of living for the ordinary person is going to be pinched. The politician is going to probably be pressured to say, we need a minimum wage. Again, pressures on wages from the bottom, increasing the cost in that vicious cycle, just continuing.
Yeah.
So what does that mean then for that investor who may have 10,000 or maybe 100,000?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes this theme so timely. I think that so you've got challenging prospects for the portfolios that many people currently hold. They've been lulled into a sense of confidence because that portfolio has done so overwhelmingly well over the last 10 or 12 years. And so it's hard for them to see the urgency in adding diversifying strategies and assets to the portfolio. And at the same time, if markets continue to drive higher, people really fear being left on the sidelines, right? And so the question is, how can you sort of solve for these competing objectives, right? I want my cake in terms of participating in equity market gains, but I also want to protect against the downside if the rug gets pulled from under equity markets and they go into a period of hibernation, and or you get a major upward shock to inflation, and even though your equities may be treading water, the cost of living is rising at a rate much higher than your equity gains, and so you're getting left behind. So how do you solve for that equation? And that I think is the focus.
Well, could we then ask, sometimes we see the investor as this person that has funds available. Maybe it's a winning of some sort, maybe it's an inheritance and they're not quite sure what to do. But for that person who's going along and trying to get along, is there a certain sum that they should bring to the table, 1,000, a million? As you talk to the presentation, your potential investor, the person's listening, they're going, you know what, I don't see any returns in the bank, I don't see sufficient returns in the portfolio that I have, maybe I need to be looking at something else. Is there a minimum amount, or come as you are?
You know what? There's never been a better time to be a small investor, right?
Okay.
I mean, the best time to plant an oak tree is 30 years ago. The second best time is today, right? So I think the advice there is kind of just get started. I don't care if it's $50 or $10,000 or $1 million. Start today, put your money to work, and be thoughtful. And the great thing about investing in modern financial markets is that you can achieve extremely thoughtful and robust diversification across a wide variety of different environments. Any investor can buy a suite of funds and get incredible amount of diversity and resilience to whatever the future might hold. And then as that portfolio grows and the diversification realizes the promise, then you get more confident and you see what's possible, and then that maybe kicks off a positive feedback cycle, and you're incentivized to save more and diversify, and things go up.
If I may ask, it may be simple economics, but we look back to savings. There's a time in Japan's history when they were a very savings-oriented culture, and then we saw the shift that it became probably more consumer-oriented than the U.S., for instance. Companies develop employee share ownership programs or even buyback, so that within that sort of monthly paycheck, funds could be deducted to buy shares in the company. We've seen instances where maybe from the notion of savings, people are looking at how they can increase. So they bought an annuity, for instance. In this environment, is that person who's listening, I got $5 every month, I want to put it towards, or $50, and they want to put it towards something. Could this be a way to start, or they need to bring the 10,000 or the million and have a lump sum to get going?
Well, I think I echo what Adam just said, and it requires, people want to get a return on their investments, but what they don't realize is that the first thing they need to focus on is carving out enough of their paycheck to save money. That is 90% of the battle. You need to religiously execute on putting money in whatever amount it is. I don't care if it's $5 or $500. You need to figure out a frequency. You need to create a budget so that you can put that money to work, and then execute it through thick or thin, whether your portfolio is making you money or losing you money. Over time, if you are just simply thoughtful about how you are going to invest in a series of mutual funds, a single diversified mutual fund that you can buy $50 at a time, or exchange traded fund at a low cost. There's a wide variety of ways that investors can match their personalities with their investments right now, more than has ever existed, and that will take your $50. And the battle is your emotional need for wanting to spend that money on a monthly basis and thinking, no, I don't want that to go to my savings. You absolutely do. And the power of compounding is such that if you are doing that religiously, you'll wake up one day and see that your portfolio is significantly larger than you ever expected.
Starting whether 30 years ago or today, it's never too late.
Exactly.
As you go into the break, let's ask. So many times we see and hear things that are unfolding in the Cayman, but for some reason either we don't think it's available to us, or it may not be. So that person is listening now saying, you know what, I got a few dollars, I need to start investing. I've got time ahead. Is this available to any and everybody who wants to start investing? Can they do so through you, or how does that work?
So we're not
No,
registered advisors here in Cayman. So don't come to us. There's some wonderful people on island that can help you with that environment. We do research and we run funds outside of Cayman. But certainly talk to your local investment advisors to help you understand how it is that you can possibly put that money to work. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to an advisor, there's many platforms right now that you can open up. The millennials will know more than I will of what's available to open up, show your ID, and start investing. Right. So
I like what you said. Just like how some of us pay our tithes off the bat, some of us need to pay ourselves that savings. Whether it's a 10% of our income or whether it's only $10 for the month. Put something aside, not just for a rainy day, but let it be compounded, and then 30 years when you're retiring, we'll have $1. All right, we'll pause and take the break. When we come back, maybe tell us a little bit more about FinTalks. We can maybe ask a little bit more about the presentation if you want to choose. And then we can sing a song. No, I just kidding. I'm going to pause and take that break. When we come back, more talk today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway. Eat fresh.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
COVID-19 vaccines are the only way forward in reopening our borders safely. Take the COVID-19 vaccine to protect yourself and the ones you love, especially those of us who cannot get vaccinated. For more information on the COVID-19 vaccine, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And over at Cayman Enterprise City, is it a Chief Marketing Officer? Is that the title?
Yeah.
I was going to say a CMO, but some of you are going to say, really? She's been appointed? Dr. Lee's gone already? No, I just...
Chief Marketing, not medical.
Yeah, there you see. Well, life is about laughter. I didn't get my honey this morning. My good friend Jacob, I need some more good brewed honey, drizzle on dark chocolate. Something to consider. But it must be fascinating for you to be in part of such an incredible organization, to see the growth over the years.
It is. And to see the projects in the Special Economic Zone, it's definitely really interesting. And there's something new every day. So I encourage anybody who's listening in today to really get involved, reach out, figure out what types of events are happening, because a lot of these things are now happening, and they're free and they're open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow's event that's happening at Casanovas is completely free. Just RSVP so we know the numbers that are attending and we can be socially distanced and safe.
What time does that start, Caitlin?
It starts at 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do is just email us at Cayman Enterprise City, and we'll get you on that RSVP list, and you can come out and listen more and learn and meet others and get really involved in the community.
All right, so that's tomorrow 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So many of us, it's not right after work because we seem to not have work, but it's a worthwhile endeavor to maybe take a late lunch if you have to in order to get it. This is information is being shared from, experts like yourselves, impartial, objective, just financial data based on the algorithm. Boy. If I may ask, though, and go back to what I had sort of referenced earlier, the jargon that we tend to use that speak, and financial discussions, I presume, like lawyers talking amongst themselves, like doctors speaking. There are certain words and terminology that can't be avoided. So that person is coming in. Are we expecting to have at least a willingness to listen, if not a penchant to, be educated? I don't know. What do you think? Tomorrow's audience, and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rodrigo is going to be presenting, and I know he's going to make an effort to make it approachable. I mean, in any field, it's easy to slip into jargon because when experts in a domain are talking amongst one another, then you want to introduce shortcuts to make the conversation more efficient, right? So jargon is just a way to pack more information into each individual word, right? So it's easy for us when we're all talking to one another to use jargon, and we have to remember when we're speaking to advisors or investors to ensure that we start at a level that ensures that they're engaged and they're learning and they're participating in the discussion.
But then should not, Rodrigo, come to the individual investor to maybe do some initial homework? With anything, I mean, you should come somewhat prepared. At least bring a pencil to the exam.
Certainly, you definitely can start on your own. You can start with a professional, and when you don't understand something, go back and learn the jargon, if you want to call it that. But ultimately, investing should be a fairly intuitive endeavor. It is the idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? It really starts with that, and I think there's too much emphasis on the idea of becoming an overnight millionaire by investing in 2 or 3 stocks that went 100x or Bitcoin or whatever you want to call it. Everybody seems to be attracted to that. But this is information and understanding that goes back from the beginning of time. Not putting all your eggs in one basket, making sure you have a little bit of your money in multiple things. Let's not give them a name. Let's just say things, right? Have a little bit of money in your house, in real estate. Have a little bit of money in companies. Have a little bit of money in cash. Have a little bit of money in gold, right? This goes all the way back to the Talmud, where it is really, that is, you need to have some money in a business, some money in real estate, some money in cash, and some money in a real asset. So when everybody, I think, intuitively understands that. I think the modern communication is one of wanting to be like the other rich celebrities, and we need to take it back to basics. And when you go with that understanding, if you really internalize the benefits of the diversification that is required in your life to survive a hurricane or anything like that, how do you diversify for a hurricane? Just in case you have something there that's a generator. If you're, if you go a week without electricity, you may not need it every day, but it's a useful thing to have. When you think about it and you approach the problem from how do I make sure that I have a little bit of everything I need in case of multiple types of disasters, and you say to your advisor, that's what I need, then they won't push you in to 100% equities. They will be more thoughtful about managing your wealth in a more more robust way.
So that idea of that phrase diversified portfolio, you're basically saying a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, not all the eggs in one basket.
100%.
All right. Two things, time and the concept of mutual fund.
Mm-hmm.
For some, they can buy into what we now hear this phrase, a mutual fund. That gives us a diversified approach to our investing. It's not all in one thing.
Well, it depends on, there's you count them. There's thousands upon thousands of, it used to be that the mutual fund was a way of getting a diversified exposure to a bunch of stocks and bonds. Today, it can mean anything. Mm-hmm. And this piece actually outlines how you can put together a handful of mutual funds that all do different things. Mm-hmm. Some deal with equities, some deal with commodities, active commodities where they can benefit from commodities going down or up. Some deal with bonds. And what you want to do is put them together in a thoughtful enough way where you can get, many eggs in that basket. Yeah. And so, yes, you do need to go and do your homework. You can't just go look at the 1,000 investments, rank them based on who did the best and say, I'm going to put that money in. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand that ended up being a, the nickel commodity company focused mutual fund that you thought was diversified. So just because it's a mutual fund, just because it's an ETF does not mean that it's diversified. You still need to, look under the hood a little bit.
So you could even create your own bespoke sort of approach, very tailor-made, customized to you.
That's right.
Time. You shared, not necessarily try to get rich overnight. And should we invest in, say, okay, next 5 years, or are we looking for the next 25 when we start to invest, that return that we're looking for? So we have a timeline, and if so, how long in the future?
I think it depends on the objectives. I mean, I think many individuals and families have multiple milestones along the way. Right? Mm-hmm. So you're saving for maybe down payment on a house as you're getting settled and you want to start a family. And then you're saving for your children's education. Maybe you want them to go to college or university. And that target is, in the beginning, maybe it's, 17 or 20 years away, right? But that sneaks up on you really quickly, as any parent will attest to. And then as you sort of build a sizable egg to put your kids through school, then maybe you want to start saving for retirement, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe retirement is 20, 30 years into the future, but then with lifespans increasing the way that they have been, once you're in retirement, you're probably going to need to spend down that capital for 30 or 40 years. And so the time horizons expand perhaps a lot more aggressively than people typically think about, right? They sort of think about whatever the next milestone is. And maybe that next milestone is only 5 or 10 years away. But you've got a series of milestones that you need to work towards. And a good advisor will have portfolios structured so that each of those milestones is targeted in a strategic way.
All right. Well, this is where tomorrow evening's presentation, Caitlin, may help us to cement our thought process, may introduce us into a space where we're more comfortable. But again, I think, if you don't make the initial effort, you can expect the reward. So tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock?
Yep, tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock, again, free admission, so we welcome anyone to come along. Just get in touch with us at Cayman Enterprise City. And we are hosting these events once a month, around the second to last Tuesday of every month. So please do get in touch, be curious, come out, learn, meet people, and have fun.
All right. Well, Adam, to you and Rodrigo, thank you both for sharing with us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Hopefully the presentation not only will be very informative as expected, but enjoyable as well. And more bridges are being built. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. To our listeners, we want to invite you to join us right after the headline news. Hoping that Ms. Jackie Neal will be able to be our guest. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman, the voice, the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
As of 8 a.m. this morning, Chief Medical Officer Dr. John Lee reports 853 COVID-19 tests have been carried out since this was last reported on Saturday. There were 8 positive test results in travelers. There have been 105,158 COVID-19 vaccinations given in total in the Cayman Islands. 71% have completed the 2-dose course. Turning to international news now, the U.S. is relaxing its COVID travel restrictions, ending an 18-month ban on UK and EU passengers. From November, passengers will be allowed to travel to the U.S. if they are fully vaccinated and undergo testing and contact tracing, the White House said. Donald Trump introduced the travel ban in March 2020. There had been much speculation in recent months about when U.S. President Joe Biden would change the rules. France's defense minister has cancelled talks with her UK counterpart as the battle continues over a new security deal between Britain, the US and Australia. Paris is angry after Australia signed the AUKUS pact to build nuclear-powered submarines, pulling out a major contract with France in the process. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said France had nothing to worry about from the deal. And Pfizer said Monday its COVID-19 vaccine works for children ages 5 to 11 and that it will seek U.S. authorization for this age group soon, a key step toward beginning vaccinations for youngsters. The vaccine made by Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech already is available for anyone 12 and older, but with kids now back in school and the extra contagious Delta variant causing a huge jump in pediatric infections, many parents are anxiously awaiting vaccinations for their younger children. Those are your latest headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Certainly appreciate, everyone's sort of input and their perspective on a number of things. And what better way to engage us when we open the platform and allow people to share freely, hopefully frequently, and hopefully from a perspective that encourages healthy discussion. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Let us, if you'll permit us, to read something that Dr. S.A. Tomlinson, Dr. Stephen Tomlinson sent across to us. Some of you may have already seen it from earlier, but I think it behooves us to have certain discussions and to invite individuals from a perspective, or from the perspective that oftentimes there are prospectors in our society who are like the days of the gold rush that we may have read about, seem to see a lot of money on the horizon, and as they go about, they may try to secure themselves in the best position. So, fairly lengthy. Let's just read it all the same. And this is from Dr. Tomlinson. So, judging from the many telephone calls received, and again, this is Dr. Tomlinson's perspective. I asked if he could share and invite you to maybe weigh in and give a perspective. So Dr. Tomlinson writes, says, judging from the many telephone calls received, I am aware that many people are gravely concerned about the future of the Cayman Islands as we battle the pandemic, so I hope the following will be useful. Globalization and technological progress have turned the world into a global village. Never before have we been so interdependent. The following metaphor from Singapore summed it up brilliantly when Mahobadi said, we are all stuck together on a virus-infected cruise ship called Planet Earth, and if by some good fortune our cabin is virus-free, but the corridors, the air wells and other cabins outside are not, the only way to keep the virus out of our cabin is to lock off the supply vents to our cabin. Says, thank God the previous government did that to protect us, and kudos to them. But at some point, however, the vents must be reopened. They cannot stay closed forever, or we run the risk of suffocation from lack of air. Before doing so, wisdom dictates that every single person on our cabin be given a fair chance to brace and get him or herself ready to be in the best position to withstand and fight this awful virus. This has not happened because the present government appears to be listening to one narrative only, which is, take the Pfizer vaccine, take it. That's the best thing you can do, and it all should be okay. Well, this is a time when okay is not okay. People's lives depend on decisions that Dr. Lee makes, and he is an anesthesiologist, not a virologist, and for that matter, neither am I, but I know my limitations. I was informed by the Deputy CMO that Dr. Lee is following Public Health UK, but he also reassured me that Public Health UK has said that each jurisdiction is free to do what is in its best interests. My response was, quote, then why follow Public Health UK? Having worked in the UK as a surgeon for years, I am familiar with the healthcare system and can assure you it is far from the best in the world. Furthermore, it has deteriorated since the 70s for many reasons, the main one being underfunding of the system. The UK has decided not to lock down again because the government can any longer afford to do so, and people there, I am told, are free to do whatever they like. All of this, coupled with the UK's dismal performance during this pandemic, are reasons not to follow them lockstep. Never before have risks that affect one aspect of life affected others as they do in today's world. Interdependence is a hallmark of today's world. Health risks will give rise to economic ones, which turn into political risks due to unemployment leading to social unrest, or of technological risks morph into social risks, such as using mobile phones to trace the pandemic, which could cause a societal backlash. In today's world, risks amplify each other and have cascading effects. Incidentally, this is not to deem what anyone has said publicly, but the COVID-19 virus differs greatly from the smallpox virus. Smallpox is caused by the variola virus, which is a DNA virus, and DNA viruses seldom mutate and are far more stable than the COVID-19 virus and can therefore be more easily eradicated by vaccination. Yet it took nearly 2 centuries to eradicate smallpox in humans worldwide. However, the smallpox virus still exists, hence the fear of the US government. After 9/11, it could easily be used as a bioweapon. The comparison of COVID-19 with polio is more acceptable. At least both are single-stranded RNA viruses, but the polio virus does not mutate as often as does COVID-19. Already, the Greek alphabet is almost exhausted by COVID-19 variants, and scientists have predicted that by 2 years' time, we may have encountered as many as 300 variants. Polio has not, as yet, been eradicated in humans. There was even a recent outbreak in the USA. Most outbreaks today are caused by the vaccine itself when the half-dead virus in the vaccine becomes live enough to cause the disease. In fact, no RNA virus has, as far as I know, ever been eradicated. Scientists abandoned the quest to develop vaccines against the common cold because it has such low mortality and morbidity, and because of how fast its causative viruses mutate. Unlike influenza, people would have to take multiple vaccines every year, even if they were available for the common cold. Unfortunately, virologists know that we'll still be battling with COVID-19 for a long time yet. Sad, but true. For those of you who question why I took so long to speak publicly, these are my reasons. And again, this is written by Dr. Tomlinson. So his reasons. Number 1, there was no need to do so when the last government was in power because I agreed with almost 100% of their decisions regarding COVID-19. 2, I became increasingly concerned as the administration made more and more poor decisions. At this point, I publicly disclosed that I supported this government initially and may still do if they wise up. I could no longer sit by and watch our freedoms being eroded unnecessarily. I do not support one man, namely Dr. John Lee, having absolute authority to decide how and what can be used to treat every single one of us in the Cayman Islands. Yes, private doctors are free to treat patients, but only with this infernal vaccine when there are many other vaccines and other therapies available. In my opinion, every single person, whether vaccinated or not, should demand our political representatives to release us from the stranglehold immediately. We should not sit down and accept this nonsense while we know that hundreds are dying, both the vaccinated and unvaccinated, in the UK from the COVID-19 Delta variant, as was predicted would happen by renowned virologists. This is not a joking matter. If government takes the following steps, we could very well emerge as an example to the rest of the world. Step 1. Constitute a COVID-19 task force immediately to advise the government on COVID-19 related matters. 2. Cease following the dictates of Public Health UK on this matter. According to the Deputy CMO, the UK government has given each jurisdiction freedom to implement measures which it considers best. This is not a one-man show, so stop following the advice of one man who is not even a virologist. And why should we follow the UK knowing their dismal performance during this pandemic? Step 3. Release the draconian stranglehold imposed on us immediately and allow pharmacists and doctors to bring in whatever can help in this fight against COVID-19. Allow doctors to do what we are trained to do: treat patients. We treat many life-threatening, contagious conditions anyway. The government would also emerge with less mud on their faces in the long run. Step 4. Implement a stage opening up of the borders ASAP, but after all of us have had a chance to make sensible decisions. There are many more things we can do besides taking the Pfizer vaccine. 5. Recognize and involve the private medical community in this fight. Together we see more patients daily than the 3 hospitals put together. For example, why should private employers be encouraged to accept letters issued by HSA doctors? All doctors are registered to practice medicine in the Cayman Islands, and we should never be registered to do so if we are not trustworthy. 6. Do not even dream of mandating any specific treatment for COVID-19, as many other countries have and are doing. China has been saying for a long time that it will stop at nothing until it is the world superpower and the whole world emulate their political model. The question then remains, will we support their endeavor? Dealing with this pandemic is not an easy task. All Caymanians are aware of that, so let us summon up all the help we can get before it is too late. Lastly, I don't profess to know everything either, but I do hope that at least some of my suggestions are adopted, and I stand here willing to assist in whatever way I can. This is one of the most lengthy dissertations that I've written in ages, but I owe it to our country that we all love, land of our birth, and I beg your indulgence to read it. Well, many thanks, Dr. S. Tomlinson. Well, thank you for sending that, and increasingly, more and more people are, sharing their thoughts, so let's have a healthy discussion. Let us pause though, take this break, and when we come back, we'll return to our phones.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Carl Esmond Scott, JP, 1909 to 2002. Pastor Carl Esmond Scott was born in Spot Bay, Cayman Brac. He married Violet Rosa Scott, with whom he had 8 children. He made outstanding contributions to the island as a pastor, marriage officer, justice of the peace, carpenter, and distinguished seaman and engineer on the M.V. Kirksons for the Kirkconnell family. In carrying out his pastoral duties, he counseled, advised, and assisted many families in various ways. He was known to many as a jack of all trades, as he used his God-given talents to help the needy, the lost, and the straying.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, Brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
COVID-19 vaccines are the only way forward in reopening our borders safely. Take the COVID-19 vaccine to protect yourself and the ones you love, especially those of us who cannot get vaccinated. For more information on the COVID-19 vaccine, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is an opportunity to share your thoughts as we welcome your contribution. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, Sterling?
Very well, yeah. How about yourself?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Are you able to hear me equally?
Yeah, man. No, I'm on my speakerphone.
Okay.
I wasn't sure. Sometimes that doesn't come through.
Sometimes it, yes.
Yes, I didn't want to hold the phone up to my ear, you know.
Well, we all become increasingly concerned about, bits and pieces happening around the place, huh? Boy.
I'm glad we started this with a little laughter, because I must tell you, I had received that same thing that you just read literally less about a half an hour ago, and I shared a little joke with a friend of mine in reply. And I'm going to share it here, and in fact, a couple more thoughts came to my head. I appreciate Dr. Steve Tomlinson. He helped me personally in my own life. And one of these days, perhaps, I'll have an opportunity to share how, by God's grace, his personal help helped me. So I highly respect Dr. Tomlinson. We know I don't think that's neither here nor there. But I need to think about things logically as he presented them. And I got, a couple of things that the dots have to connect for me. So the first thing is, the nice little analogy he gave about the cruise ships at the beginning and having all the vents closed. I shared with my friend, no, we have another option. We can bust out the window or walk out on our balconies and get some fresh air. We might be able to pull some strings from the bed and make a little makeshift line and catch some fish. Maybe the good Lord will send some birds on the balcony and we can, hit the birds down and, eat them raw or something, you know what I mean? Like, our people used to survive a long time ago. My grandmother was born, and my grandmother, not my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother was born in the 1800s right here in Westby. And he must have lived through the first pandemic. Cayman was probably a heap of mosquitoes then, so nobody didn't hear about us, didn't want to come, didn't want to go. So, probably they didn't have to deal with the virus too much then, But she made it. I was a little boy, and I watched her pull goats till she was 80-odd years old. And she could, thread a needle better than I could without glasses, too. So, what I try and say is that, we don't have to always just open up the windows or open up the vents because everybody else tells us to open up the vents, There is a God, and he does provide, and that's my faith. I shared something on my personal social media page last night where I said, fear is saying, what if? and Faith says, even if. But sometimes you have to have an even if. There is something about that statement that also has to be said. The good doctor shared that he was very pleased with the way that the previous government handled the lockdown. Well, we need to be mindful that at every press briefing, the good doctor, our government, the previous government, told us that they were following the dictates of our CMO, who is the same man right now, and they followed Public Health England. Was not what we were told, that we were following the science, and that the chief medical officer was intimate, and that he was making a lot of decisions that were driving the government's decisions in regards to our lockdown. So if he did so well for the lockdown, why can't we not at least give him the benefit of the doubt, since he did such a good job on the lockdown, to kind of help us open up the vents, to use his analogy, you know? Maybe we don't need to open the vents up right away. Maybe we just need to jar them one little dollar baby bit and put some of the bread spreads over the vents to help slow down any passage of the virus. And, sounds like a mask to me. So we can't just throw the baby out with the bath water. You know what I mean? That's my thoughts. I think I really appreciate the good doctor's thoughts, but and I appreciate some of what he's saying. I think at the heart of what I heard was perhaps we could look at broadening this whole entire. Maybe it needs more than Dr. Lee to help to manage all of the therapies and all that sort of thing that's coming. And there is some valid point to the fact that if you're a licensed doctor in this country, then you should at least be trusted, not just at one point or trusted all other times beside this one point. And there's arguments to be made the other way, of course. I'm sure there are reasons surrounding that, and I can think of a couple of them, not the least of which we're dealing with a pandemic, the first. None of us were here 100 years ago. So we need to trust that. If I have anything to say about Dr. Lee at this point in time, because I think he's proven his worth in a pound of salt or whatever else they've said in the past, a pound of sugar or whatever else. I kind of hated that he shared that he went to England and he walked around maskless, and all the other stuff that he said in the last press briefing, because that kind of threw a monkey wrench, if you will, in so many people's thoughts. I'm sure all those who want us to just open up and become Bermuda, where unfortunately it seems like Bermuda is raging with it, and the Bermudans are asking for a couple of plane loads of people coming to drink margaritas. But I think he could have qualified that a little bit more and help the people to understand that he wasn't saying that the virus isn't going bad. In fact, it wasn't even 2 days later I was listening to the BBC, and it appears like their numbers are going up again, and that the hospitals there are getting in trouble again. That was 2 days after that press briefing, and I said to myself, interesting. Maybe Dr. Lee should go back there in another month and see if it's still the same. I guess long and short of it is, Dwayne, for me, like I said, it's always about connecting the dots, buddy. And I think this government was wise in its approach to delay our opening. At this point in time, I tried to share that, and I got cut off on the show that Katina was managing at the time. But I didn't get to finish my thoughts on that. But I have them in my head. They haven't gone anywhere.
Right. If I then, I'm sorry to maybe ask you then from that perspective.
Yeah, man.
Dr. Lee's comments of reset. I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand, or certainly more importantly, as it was relayed to me, they weren't sort of miscommunicated. Is it your understanding that Dr. Lee's perspective is that we could live with this and, opening and managing, as you referenced, he's walking around the UK maskless and the like, that in the Cayman?
No, no. Let's not misconstrue it.
No. That's what I'm asking.
No, not you.
Right.
I'm saying if I did that, let me just put it in context. Although some could have, is what I'm saying, and certainly could use that reference. And I have seen that written actually on social media, where some people reference what he had said in that briefing as if that was we can do it. See, England's doing it. And in fact, I saw somebody put up a post about some football game happening in England, and nobody was wearing masks. Never mind that I couldn't even see the players good, much less the masks, the people in the stadiums. But I think the point in the reference that Dr. Lee was saying is the government, if I'm not mistaken, in fact, it was the same press conference and Dr. Lee was first, he was making reference to, I think he was trying to, this is my takeaway, he was trying to calm the fears that we were already happening about this outbreak. My takeaway is that he gave reference to having a personal trip and that he used his examples of going, sometimes even in pubs and otherwise. He said he took precautionary measures when he visited his parents, et cetera, and that basically people could still live even though the pandemic existed. And so I think he was saying that, you know, recognizing that reality, we have to keep that in context with Cayman. Now, there are some other things I could say to that as well, and I read it best last night on a gentleman who commented on something I'd written. He says, you know, the fact is Cayman does not have an expendable population. You know, I'm not, you know, England can afford to lose 10,000 people, God forbid, and Italy can afford to lose 10,000 people. In America, 2 million, and it's just a bump. You know, 100 Caymanians passing will be generational impact, you know, and never mind 50. Yeah, so never mind 10, you know. And so the point is we need to be careful, man. We need to look at that vent again, boy. We need to tear some sheets off and see if we can crack the vent when the dollar baby bit and walk out on the balconies and catch some fresh air and pray that the good Lord send us some birds on the balcony. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, listen, you keep enjoying the fresh air. All right.
Thank you, bro.
All the best, bro. Let's take some more calls. And good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello. Good afternoon. Okay. In 949-8037. If the toll free doesn't work, we go to the other line. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Not too bad. I'm grateful. I am very grateful.
Thank God. Yes, indeed.
Yes, we should be. I tell you what. Your last caller. I share the same thoughts because it was the same government that was, the last government was trusting Dr. Lee. And I remember that our previous premier, and I do respect him, and I do, in fact, I do love him like a brother. Many years ago, before he was premier, he was then a lawyer. I worked with him, but he was all over the radio ever so often, every week, as far as I can remember. Encouraging people to take the job, and so was the few others, including the previous health minister, John Seymour. He even spoke in different languages sometime. He always had a prayer or a Bible verse. So they were going by the same doctor. I respect Dr. Tomlinson and what he is saying, but goodness God, it has kept us, those of us that have gotten the job, and many more Caymanians, 70,000, as they say, that got the job.
That's the percentage, right, of the people who are taking it. But then, is there some question as to how many of them were people that actually live here, and how many may have come in as tourists to get it and then leave?
Well, we don't know that
no. Right.
As the question is, and if we're going to question that, then we should question why are we not hearing from our national airline that we call our airline, Cayman Airways? Why are we not hearing from the board, from the CEO, what has happened to that person that was positive, and they claim that they're investigating the whole thing? Why are we not hearing? We have that right to find out why we're not hearing from them. Why we're not hearing from Cayman Airways instead of some old foo-foo story. We don't know who that person was really, but the same public health that we depend on so much, and God bless every one of them and their families, how hard they're working to keep us COVID-free, if not COVID-free, at least for the part of having a job, and if we get it, it wouldn't kill us in a couple of days. God have mercy on those people, and God have mercy on the people that think, and I can get it. Well, that's up to them. That is up to them what they want to do and their decision. But we need to hear from Cayman Airways. I mean, they blasted all over the place about these poor little unfortunate children from the Georgetown Primary School. Let's hear what is Cayman Airways doing. I thank Public Health again, and I thank you all for listening to me. Radio Cayman is my radio, and I need to talk to Lindburn about one song that I heard him play. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. Just before he left, it was like 11:18, 11:20. Man, I could have listened to that song now and to the end of the week. Thanks a lot again, and keep the good works up. And thank Radio Cayman and their staff. God bless you all.
Amen. Blessings to you too. And with that, respectfully, let's just pause, take a short break, and return to the phones. Stay tuned.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamt Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamt Motors, Walkers Road. The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
You can now register to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the MyHSA patient portal. Sign up is available at all HSA locations and at various sites throughout the community. To register, all you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and a valid email address. Visit hsa.ky and click MyHSA patient portal for the sign-up schedule and more information.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise Northside and East End residents of a vegetation debris collection from September 20th to 25th. Northside and East End residents are asked only to place vegetation waste on the curbside where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place household trash. For more information on the Northside East End collection from September 20th to 25th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management section at 949-6696.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. It's another magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today as we go straight to the phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad. Barry Solomon here.
Mr. Barry, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Right. I just have two things I would like to say. Two things. First of all, I'd like to say, obviously, with my work, I don't have the freedom to truly express. However, I'm not here to bash anybody or to put down anybody, but I'm here to praise Dr. Steve. During the whole pandemic, to my knowledge, he has been one doctor that has been working through his clinic. He has been, I know a lot of people did video, I'm not sure what the term is again, but where you could actually do your video and talk to your doctor and what have you.
Okay, yeah.
To my knowledge, Dr. Steve has been one of those who has seen people person to person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm not saying that he's the only one. I'm just saying, to my knowledge, he has done that, and that is, I find that to be very commendable. Including myself, he has seen.
Okay, yeah.
So I value his professionalism. I value his opinion. And like I said, I'm not here to knock anyone. And thus far, I think the HSA has done a wonderful job. I'd like to say also. But in final, I'd like to ask a question, at least a little food for thought. I want to use the word President Biden for obvious reasons. However, I'll say the Biden administration. Let's call it that for now. The Biden administration. I would like to know: is anyone else aware of? Because this is a fact. Is anyone aware of that? Under that regime, the federal government, the White House, illegals that is allowed to come in, which consists of terrorists, gun smugglers, human traffickers, and is also known to the administration. They are exempt. They are all exempted from the vaccination. My question is, why would they do that? And I just leave that with the public. But that is a fact. The federal government, the White House, Congress, and all illegals, which, by the way, is they're being dropped off in states that are having the biggest spike now, if you want to call it that. So my question is, why would on the other hand you would be pushing? I'm talking about the U.S. now. Why would on the other hand they would be pushing for everybody to get this thing, and all of those people not to have it? Just a little food for thought for the public.
All right, man.
And I'm sure, but of course you're not going to hear this on the mainstream media, Matthew. No. That would be news. That would be news.
Hey, thanks for sharing that, man. Enjoy your afternoon, all right?
They're no longer interested in. They're interested in running narratives. But that is a fact. And why would that be? So that's my question.
All right. Well, let it resonate. Hey, thank you. Enjoy your afternoon, all right? Let's take the other call. Welcome, good afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon to me.
What's happening, man? How are you today?
Oh, home children listen to the show.
Well,
just very quickly, I don't last too long today. There's a song written by the Cliftonian Crazy, and he's probably 70 years old now. He came here in 1980. It's called In Time to Come.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 25 verses long, doing it. It takes about 20 minutes to hear the song. But if you get a chance tonight or whatever, punch it in your phone, listen to it.
It's a good song, man. It's a good song.
That song is nothing but prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said in part of that song that in Nostradamus predicted in 1515 that the world would lock down twice, not 3 times, twice. And one more thing I want to say about COVID again. I'm wondering myself, and these people that got COVID here, they found infected that hadn't traveled or anything. But, you know, when they went ahead and legalized the LGBT thing, and had the parade in town, I was sitting in my backyard this evening and I said to myself, you know, I don't feel good about this. It's something, what's God going to do to us now to pay for this? But afterwards, we got 2 hurricanes, and COVID came back. And I believe COVID came right in a hurricane. Because viruses, bacteria travel in the air. I mean, in storms. By the time you have a storm, people get sick afterwards. Right now, there's people sick around here with sore throat and stuff like that. My son just came up to my house with a sore throat. I gave him some ginger to chew up, a ginger cabinet, and then lime. And if you have a common cold now, just a common flu or cold, and you go to the hospital get tested, 9 chances out of 10, they can tell you you got positive COVID. From the time COVID came out, you hardly heard about it got cold or anything. I mean, everything now is COVID. But I think you know, as well as I know, and plenty of people know, this is already bio warfare, and it's all being financed by billionaires and millionaires. Politicians will be paid off all over the world. They tell people, they tell you, no. Our politicians on the last thing, don't watch social media. Don't get vaccines. Well, I took 2 vaccines because I had to travel. And the third one coming, I won't be taking. There's too much news about COVID.
But if I may ask, if you allow me, I mean, only if you want, and certainly it could be offensive, but it's not my intent, but it doesn't mean that it isn't. But you had said publicly that you weren't going to take it, and then you said you took it because you had to travel. So in a world where we're so Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But in a world where we're so interconnected, where you are required to do this in order to get that, what would you say to the people who, like you, whether you wanted to do something willingly or not, but you felt obligated to do it? Some may have felt pressured, coerced, bullied.
More obligated. I had to do it to travel. That's basically why I did it.
Right.
You know.
But there are more. There are many people like that.
And there's so much talk about COVID on social media now, from doctors in the States and doctors all over the world. Up to last night, I got a friend of mine saying me something about COVID damages your nerve endings. And this is coming from a doctor.
Right.
So social media is not always wrong doing. I mean, stuff like that would be wrong, but it's not always wrong.
It's information isn't inaccurate or wrong just because it comes from a source, or it isn't necessarily trustworthy and accurate just because it comes from a source. So the question then is, where are we as people in our honesty, in our integrity, in our credibility, in our sense of being just and fair, reasonable, honest, so that a government or a business or a politician or a pastor or a parent, somebody in a position of authority is saying something, and then we as a people having the confidence that this thing is not only from a trusted source, but there is no malice, no ulterior motive. This is just the cold hard truth about whatever this thing is. Is that part of the problem, that we are no longer in that space where we have that level of trust in people, in institutions, in anything? Because for so long we've been deceived.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. I will agree.
So what do we do then?
You know, what to do?
Yes, sir.
Make it right with God, pray, and keep the faith.
Okay.
I gotta go for Roger. You go for Green.
I hear you, right?
Your siblings.
But to that point, I mean, hearing what you're saying, but to that point, there are many of us who have faith. There are many of us who say, well, this is the fate of what is going to come. And the scripture will probably remind us quickly, faith without works is dead. So if we are not respectful, responsible, and respectable, how are we expecting anything better to happen? I mean, families are being divided. Relationships are being dissolved. Businesses are being shuttered. There's so much negative things as a result of this. And I'm wondering, are we stopping to ask ourselves in this seemingly controlled environment that we had? I mean, now that the flights are closed, but for the BA flight 3 times a week through Bahamas, that is an amber list country from which seemingly our HSA vaccination card isn't acceptable to the UK. We have the question, what is transpiring? And when we do, how is that question being perceived? Is it said in a malicious way, or is it said in a very questioning way to elicit, a meaningful, timely response?
Well, I think basically what's happening is that good is overcoming evil. And everything that is happening is in the Bible.
Yes, sir.
The prophecy fulfilling, that's what happens. And I'm not negative, and I'm not positive. I am realistic. That's me.
Well, you can be positive and realistic.
I don't want to give it today and enjoy it. Give somebody another chance to come on. But
yeah, man.
That's my word for today.
All right. Thank you. I always appreciate the calls. Where are we going, Miss Susan? If you guys are on the line, stay tuned. The break looms.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Had a look at those investment options yet?
Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed.
That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. 10 minutes before the 2 p.m. headlines. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
afternoon again, Sterling.
Afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Not bad. Not many times, I think, over the years have I ever called back twice, but sometimes you're nudged. So, yeah, man. I just I listened to the last caller, and I'll say this. I appreciate his thoughts, but, I'm always about trying to be careful that we don't use words to hurt others. Otherwise, I try to anyway. I'm not always blameless in that regard, but I try really, really hard. So, there was a thought that was put out there about the deity, about God, about this thing, about this space, about this energy, about this person, whatever it is we perceive God to be. And actually almost, referencing that the fact that we had two storms is as a result of people who were other than the caller, I suppose, having an opportunity to celebrate themselves. But I'll say this, Dwayne. What if I shared with you that, and he talked about social media not being all bad. Well, in this case, I agree with him on that, because just about a few days before that storm, I actually was on social media, and I was specifically on an Instagram, and I saw Pastor T.D. Jakes on there, and he paused to say a prayer, and specifically, the people of Haiti had just had the earthquake the night before, and he was praying for the people of Haiti, and I closed my eyes to join in that prayer on social media, and because those are the first sort of social media sites I try to go to, not where I'm looking for conspiracies and all kind of foolishness. But anyway, I closed my eyes and joined that prayer, and he prayed for the people of Haiti, and specifically he said, God, there's a storm that's approaching Haiti. It was grace. And, I pray against that storm. Now, I'm going to stop there and say this, Dan. Like many Caymanians in hurricane season every year, and I would think many Caymanians, but certainly I do. And this is where I want to be careful, because I don't want to speak something as if there's any sort of personal connections, but, God is amazing. I pray that we don't have a bad season, and I pray some specific prayers. Right after I got off of that little social media, hearing Pastor Jake pray about this, I'm not going to lie to you, before Almighty God, what if I told you I prayed for grace to turn from there? And I said, Lord, even if we need to have it here in the Cayman Islands to spare those people who just had that earthquake. Now, I said that about 2 or 3 days before she changed course. And I'll never forget why she was coming, and I started to pray, Lord, please don't make this storm come. And something said, you remember your prayer? And sometimes you sit and you think, and I said, okay, trusting you in the midst of this, Lord. And then Ida was coming. He talked about 2 storms. Ida was coming. I said, well, Lord, I didn't pray for this one. And I heard, trust me. Ida knocked over 1 chair. Anybody had anything from Ida? We woke up next morning wondering what Ida was doing, what happened to her, what she did. So, you can take what you want from people sharing about God sending storms, and I'm sharing a little different lens. Wait for it to come. I'll leave you with that, Dwayne.
All right, thanks. Let's take one more. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you, too, for calling.
Afternoon, Sterling, and afternoon to your listening audience.
My friend, afternoon, man. How you doing, man?
Not doing too bad. I was listening to all the callers, and I think everybody has a lot to learn. I mean, it's everybody's point of view. The one question I would like to put out there, and for people to understand, and I think that we've all had access to a whole slate of information, whether one want to deem it misinformation, good information, bad information, I don't know. Label it the way you will. What I do know about social media and all of the platforms that are being heavily used in order to share one's opinion about anything, I do know this, that on YouTube and Facebook, which is the 2 primary, right? And even Instagram, but not a lot of people share a lot of the information on Instagram simply because of the files and the media. You can't share everything you can on Facebook, on Instagram. But what I will say is that whenever you post something, and I just use this so people understand that when you suspect something to be one way, that's based on probably suspicion that was developed by something you may have seen or heard. Now, We know that anything you post on Facebook or YouTube that is COVID-19 sensitive, they censor it, they filter it, and they remove it. Okay? So if the fact checkers are moving every piece of information that they deem is false about COVID-19, then please can someone in the public tell me or tell the rest of this island, why aren't they also removing other things that are not factual, that could be harmful and could be considered as bullying in a lot of different cases? How is it that the only single thing that the major platforms that we use to share information and opinion is only censoring COVID-19? I think that's a very serious question. I think that the world must understand that, look, there are a plethora of things on Facebook and YouTube that could be influential in many different ways and could be fake and a lot of fake news. So are we saying then that anything we see on YouTube is real and that it's fact? Because they're taking anything that is based false by the fact checkers, they're removing it off of the pages when it pertains to COVID-19 and saying, oh, well, fact checkers have checked your article, it's false, we're going to remove it. Fine, fair enough. Then why are they not moving all of the other false things that are on those platforms in different categories? So I just think that they expect the whole world to educate themselves and be reasonable and rational. And then when we see them with this lopsided narrative and we ask the question, oh, well, why is it that you only censoring COVID-19 stuff? Oh, all of a sudden we conspiracy theorists? Because it is blatantly obvious that you want us to believe what you want us to believe about COVID-19 and whatever else that comes off of it. So, I don't know. We have to be a very rational society. Dr. Thompson's address was, it hit a lot of salient points. It hit a lot of things that a lot of people haven't really thought about. I want to thank him publicly for putting it out there because at the end of the day, information is key, and how we digest it and comprehend it is another thing. But we do know this, Sterling. Mm-hmm. We need to understand that we cannot hide out COVID. We can't hide out the flu. We didn't hide that out. It's been around. We need to hit this thing head on and start dealing with this thing accordingly. We can't continue to be creating these proverbial bubbles, expecting it to go away, and then we're going to poke our head out and say, okay, is it gone yet? No, that's not going to happen. So anyway, I thought I would share that point. I think it's something that a lot of people haven't really thought about. But are we to say now that everything on Facebook and YouTube is factual and true because they're not removing anything other than COVID-19? Anyway, you have a good one.
Hey, thank you, Tuma, and certainly appreciate it. And for those who are joining us, we certainly appreciate your thoughts. 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. We'll pause and we'll take our headline news. When we come back, we'll continue with our calls as we invite you to share your thoughts with us. The excellent counselor, Ms. Susan, right there answering it all and putting the truth. So we want to hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The much-anticipated first-ever homecoming dinner gala at the University College of the Cayman Islands has been put on hold. Officials say Monday anticipated restrictions on large gatherings of people due to the recent reports of community-based COVID-19 cases led to the decision to postpone the event. A new date will be announced once the current situation becomes more stable. The homecoming was part of a campaign to boost alumni involvement in UCCI. Turning to international news now, a gunman killed 6 people and injured 28 others at a university in the Russian city of Perm, officials have said. The assailant walked onto the campus on Monday morning and started shooting. Students and teachers barricaded themselves inside the university building, while others were seen screaming and jumping from windows. Authorities said the attacker, a student at the university, was injured and detained by police. Kabul is a city still waiting for its new life to take shape. A lot depends on the will and whims of its new Taliban masters, but it is hunger that could become the worst of Afghanistan's many crises. Millions live in desperate poverty in a country that has received huge sums in foreign aid. The money left over that might help them, around $9 billion in central bank reserves, is frozen by the Americans to keep it away from the Taliban. And 63 endangered African penguins have been killed by a swarm of bees in a rare occurrence near Cape Town. Bird conservationists in South Africa say the protected birds from a colony in Simonstown were found on the shore with multiple bee stings. They had no other physical injuries. National Parks officials told the BBC this was the first known attack at the world-famous Boulders Beach, which attracts up to 60,000 visitors a year. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. It is Open Line as we go straight to the phones. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dwayne.
How are you?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say you're having a great show this afternoon. I'm hearing some familiar voices of reason, but I'm really just calling to say to the government that I think after hearing all these debates, it's time for them to come out publicly and give us some meetings. We need some town hall meetings, and I think that's the way forward because there's too many different opinions and people are getting upset and divided. Time to change it.
Okay, well, it's time to build some stronger sense of community to unifyness is what you're saying, right?
It's the division that is getting me really upset. So it's time for government to come forward.
Okay. Well, we're looking for it. So thank you very much. Anything else you want to share?
You too.
Okay, all the best. Let's take the other call. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, how you doing?
My friend, how are you? How's everything?
Not bad. I was listening to you on YouTube, and I didn't know whether I should believe what I was hearing.
It depends. What was I saying?
No, I was making fun of the fact that it's on YouTube.
You know what? Some of us didn't get that, but yeah, your social media, right?
And I don't know if we should believe the government streaming on YouTube either.
You know,
that's like blaming the road for somebody who drove drunk on the road. I mean, come on.
Yeah, man.
We shouldn't be attacking the platform, which is why I'm making this point that the comments about not believing what's on social media, that's not a credible position to take. I mean, they need to cut that foolishness out. They need to discuss points, take an issue, take what has been said, and address what has been said. Speaking of which, on the 9th of September, Dr. Jefferson answered a question that I had asked during the government press briefing about which medications the HSA is using for the treatment for people that are infected with the virus. And he took the opportunity to launch an attack against what he called horse and donkey doses of ivermectin. And I was kind of a little taken back by such an attack, but he went on to basically admit that there's a place for its use and that the HSA uses it. And I thought about what he said, and I said to myself, well, what is a horse and donkey dose anyway? And so I went to a website in the UK that lists medicines and their dosages for different types of things. And I looked up ivermectin. And basically what it said was one of the dosages it gave was 200 micrograms, which is 0.2 milligrams. And that's per kilogram of body weight. And so I did a calculation for myself, and lo and behold, if I was taking ivermectin using what they would consider a safe dose, it came out to more than what Dr. Jefferson was criticizing. And so I said to myself, well, why would that be the case? And I don't know what the answer is. Like, what's the reason for this attack against something that's an approved drug for humans? It would be an off-label use for the virus, but that's not exactly an anomaly. That happens quite regularly in medicine.
One medicine being used for something else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the thing I wanted to bring out was that we need to stop attacking things that has been shown, not just on social media, but in serious research. You even have Australia now getting into saying, well, they don't want doctors to prescribe ivermectin for the infection, the virus infection, because of things that are said on social media. Now, to me, I'm thinking about that position, and I'm asking myself, you mean to tell me that we have doctors that are so incapable, so persuadable that they're going to do something that's really foolish because of an opinion that's expressed on social media? I mean, where are we headed as a country? If that's how little people think of doctors. Doctors do this all the time. This is not something that's new. And one of the things that I find really frustrating is that there are plenty of people who know this, but they're just quiet. Don't want to be involved in anything that has any appearance of any controversy whatsoever. But if we take the approach that we're not going to talk about something because it's controversial, how do we ever resolve the controversy and move on to the next issue and resolve that and therefore improve life? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then as I listen to you, we're seeing an increasing amount of regulation relative to things, in business, and we talk about government bureaucracy. We're seeing many now share that it seemed to be almost a common voice, as it were. Some would say, a concerted effort to ensure that everything that is being conveyed from officialdom is of the same accord.
Elaborate on that a little more for me, because I'm not quite sure where you're coming from.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just thinking that we're hearing increasingly, but let's flip it slightly, that there are some voices now starting to pipe up to ask questions. Physicians and other scientists asking, well, why can't we look at other therapies? Why is it that we're relegated to only this? When it seems that there is just one approach, coordinated, as some would say, as a coordinated effort from official sources as to how we should move forward. And people are not just questioning, well, is there any rights and freedoms that they should have? But physicians are asking, well, why can't, as you just referenced, we as physicians, seeing certain things, knowing our patients, utilize or really approve things in order to assist our patients?
I think I get where you're coming from. My understanding of the... Now, I know that a lot of people like to refer to certain things up until the 23rd of August as the vaccine is being approved.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case. I mean, when these things were first released, what you had was just an emergency use authorization.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get that, you have to demonstrate that there's no other option. So if you can show that there's another option, realize that the authorization would fall away. So when I see the amount of struggle to suppress any other option, I'm thinking to myself it might be a financial conflict. And I'm not saying that everyone is in on that, because I think people could ignorantly aid others in their endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certainly a certain level of consciousness about what's going on in our society by some people who keep quiet.
If I may ask, and not even to add fuel to the fire, certainly add any disinformation, but even the whole question, well, is it now, according to the U.S.'s Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has it been approved on the 23rd of August? Because I've heard physicians say no, and other people say no, and some people say, oh, no, they're wrong, it is approved.
Well, my understanding is that they had a name change, or all right, so in wherever drugs are made, people want FDA approval, because if they can say, hey, I can sell mine in North America, that means they're good to go, right? But if you go to the UK's website, okay, and you look at it, you'll understand that what they have is temporary authorization. I know the governor said, no, you don't need any more approval. But I don't see that documented on the UK government's website. And it's Regulation 174 of, I can't remember what the exact name of the health law, but I know that it's Regulation 174 that deals with this particular vaccine, the one that we're using here.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that when I read through that, it doesn't say it has received final approval. It's temporary authorization.
This is in the UK.
This is in the UK, yeah, which is what's relevant to us.
Right.
And so, unless we were buying the drugs out of the US, then you would be looking at what their approval is, right? Or we'd be affected by their approval process.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this effort to push one narrative, and the only option they want to push is the Pfizer vaccine. Now, I personally, in 2008, fought really hard to get a Bill of Rights put into the Cayman Islands Constitution Order. And the reason for those rights is so that each person can choose for themselves what they think is best for them. But what we have is this narrative that there's this earthly God, whoever that is, with a common G, thinks that whatever they think should be used, everyone else should use it. And if you don't like it, by the way, if you get sick, you should be disallowed from having a hospital bed. Now, let me tell you why this is dangerous. Many years ago, when things were settled by the sword, at some point in time it became obvious to people that it's impractical to just kill each other over everything. So they sat around a table and they said, let's talk about our issues, let's come to some agreement. That practice today we call Parliament. And if you are unable to sit down and have a civilized conversation, and you're going to push the narrative that a person, let's say, go out and drive drunk and crash, should die on the street because they should have known better. Let me tell you where that's going to lead us. It's going to lead to people killing each other until we come to our senses and come back to the table where we are today and have rational, sensible conversations about reasonable ways forward. Okay? And some of the things that are being said in the manipulative, coercive ways in which they're trying to manipulate people into doing what they want to do is wrong. What they should do is, I agree with Dr. Tomlinson, give people choice. When I say choice, I don't mean two other mRNA vaccines, which is essentially the same as Pfizer. That's not choice. That's just a different label. Okay? Give them choice, because there is a fundamental difference between the Pfizer vaccine and the more traditional way of doing a vaccine.
Right. But should not that choice? Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Right?
that choice extends.
So instead of us being at each other's throat because we want somebody to take Pfizer vaccine is not the way to go. If a person don't want to take Pfizer vaccine, give them an option to take something else, or whether they don't want to take any vaccine and they want to take a therapeutic as their treatment, then let them have that too. Let me tell you why. In Canada, before cannabis was lawful, some people were growing it for medicinal purposes. They weren't selling it, illegally. They were just giving it to their friends for medicinal purposes. And they got caught, went to court, got prosecuted. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. When it got there, the question that was being asked of the Canadian Supreme Court was this: does the Canadian government have a power that is so wide that they could ban a substance that a person wishes to use in an attempt to save their life? The Canadian government, the Canadian Supreme Court said no, because that would be a breach of the person's right to life. Okay? And they ordered the government to allow people to have access to it.
Hey, friend, appreciate you sharing that with us. Seems that respectfully, let us ask you to lead that, and we take this final break. When we come back, more talk today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed, or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
Know the risks of underage drinking and be prepared to have a conversation about them. Establishing yourself as a trustworthy source of information on alcohol will make your child more inclined to ask questions and look to you for support and guidance. For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. Got about 8 minutes left in the program. Thank you very much for calling. Good afternoon and welcome. Okay. My bad, Miss Susan. Sorry. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. 1-800-534-8 was it? 255 and then 949-8037. More numbers on the Sunday. Let's play and see what you have to say. 925-3261 as you share your thoughts with us. And looking at a quick message from one of our listeners, I think the last caller was just about to share that. He said, people's choice, between A, B, and C, as I paraphrase. And this one message said, should choice mean that I have the choice to take it or not? Well, what is it a little different about? Is that choice? Sometimes, your parents say you got two choices. Listen to what I say or do what I tell you. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. Let's see though, as a couple of the callers have shared earlier, can we get to a space where we are discussing things and we are disagreeing, that we can still be cordial and amenable and civil and respectful and responsible and cognizant that sometimes our view is not the only view. Even if we're absolutely correct and what we're saying is indisputable, doesn't mean that someone can be precluded from having a comment, a question, or a dissenting view. But likewise, even if what we're saying we know it to be absolutely foolish, but because we're charismatic, dogmatic, or otherwise just so imbued with such a sense of confidence that we are able to say it and share it. Maybe we have the platform, the podium, or the position otherwise to, ensure that we have an audience. Doesn't mean that we should exercise that in such a way that brings such a level of discord to others. And importantly, can we move forward, as the caller last shared, in a way that we start to show respect to people who have a different view, to physicians who may disagree with their colleagues. Are they now labeled as good or bad if there is a majority on one side? Now, who knows where this new road will take us, and worse, what future generations will not only think of us, but how they will be impacted. Hopefully, as the lyrics of Billy Joel reminds us, hopefully we're not the reason for their unanswered prayers. I believe everyone wants to do the best that he or she can for the next generation, but to enjoy and make life today as safe and stable and secure as best as possible. But time only tells, Bob Marley talks about time will tell. Well, it is an interesting world in which we live, and what we pass on is it better than what we inherited. So some of us, we take the coins and we'll bury it and keep it secure. Others will do a great deal to risk it and lose it all, and some would increase it manifold. I guess it comes back to a person's perspective, the environment in which they are, perhaps the nurturing in which they receive, perhaps the level of instruction, tolerance, and the like that has been part of their upbringing. But nothing, I think, can replace a semblance of respect. And unfortunately, we may believe that, in order to get something, it's, you have to use a sense of force or coercion or incentive or some other measure to bring people along. How many of us are prepared to stand for what we believe in and not expect others, because they disagree, to not equally have a right to do so? Too many, I think, have become, through actions, maligned and labeled. Many times, maybe, unjustifiably so. But some of us are incorrigible, and many times we are not cognizant of what our actions are, because we fail, as the scriptures say, to see the plank in our own eyes, but we're so focused on the speck in our brothers. Now, I can't tell you that the answers are always obvious and evident, or even when they are, that we are so willing to embrace them. Sometimes we're blinded by rage. Sometimes we're so encouraged by our own sense of intellect that we're not prepared to see that we are beating perhaps not the best path ahead. Hindsight, they say, is 2020. Well, let us not make it be that it was a year in which it was referenced, but in fact, let us see if we can, as our ancestors did, look ahead with a sense of vision. And maybe that comes from a perspective of being understanding. Tolerant is a word that's often used and perhaps misinterpreted, misapplied. Appreciate that some people, no matter how hard we try, may not necessarily we be able to bring them to the table. And others, no matter how much they press, insist, and are deserving, will never get to the table because, well, they've lost their way, or they've been so ostracized, maligned, and otherwise castigated that no one will look at them other than the pariah that they are. Let's go to the phones, Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes, hello.
Hey, how are you today?
Yeah, man, catch you last hit I catch you, man. I wasn't gonna call you, but I had to call.
Go right ahead, man. I always want to hear from
man.
you.
Yeah, man. Okay, what you do is a radio program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the TV program.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have all these different programs of internet, of social media.
Mm-hmm.
People need to understand that these are all programs, and not everything is good to be programmed by.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, like, for me, I learn a lot from the YouTubes, because a lot of DUI stuff.
Good instructions at times,
yeah.
right? Okay, true.
I have. That's like my new college. Like, I tell people, say, why you waste money on college nowadays? Because anything you need to learn is right there. So social media, people put their own persona and their own stuff on it. So you got to be aware and do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm looking for something, I look to about 10 different pages of 10 different people saying the same thing before I say, okay, that sounds correct.
Mm-hmm.
So people need to do their own research and stop being gullible, because they are trying to make you believe that everything on social media is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That itself is a lie.
Right.
That's a great tool I'm making the people know social media is a great tool, but as in every tool, a spoon could be something for feed you and also something to kill you.
Right.
So we have to know how we use the tools around us.
Be very
I don't want to
discerning.
kill the time, so I know the time limit. So you have a great day. A lot more to say, but I'll leave it there.
You're right, man. Well, find your way sometime when you can, man. All the best to you, all right?
Yeah, man. You too, sir.
Blessing. Be safe. Listen, respect our people, and we'll find a way to see how we can do it better. But together, let's do it. And publicly, thanks to Miss Susan. We'll give her a warm time because I like to talk and more importantly, to listen. That's it for today. Come back tomorrow. The buzz is in the morning. Be a part of it. Join us for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. We're hoping to join our friends from HSA for the last hour to share with you. But before that starts, well, we've got other stuff in store. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Shaken yet standing firm.